12-year-olds on their team that I didn't know about.
Isn't that violating the Little League rules?
They can play up, you just can't play down.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. We are here for our regularly scheduled city council meeting. We're going to begin by calling this meeting to order. We're also going to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to stay standing for a moment as we do words of inspiration.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful that you have made this place called Clawson, and you've assembled people together that have good hearts, good minds, and other people's interests at heart. Today, I'm extremely thankful for the people who are in this room who serve on a regular basis, for those who've moved on and still are beloved, for those who live here and choose to make Clawson home, for those who come and make their businesses here and sacrifice for each and every one of us. Lord, I ask for your guidance and your protection. I ask for your wisdom in the decisions that we make, as tonight we have several heavy lifts on our agenda, all to bring good news to the residents of Clawson and to make this a safe and good place for all. In all things, Lord, we give you praise and honor. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Binkowski.
Here.
Mayor Milan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett.
Present.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to approve our agenda?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda for tonight's council meeting as presented.
Support.
Mr. Binkowski.
I'd like to amend the agenda to remove item 10B.
Ten B is consideration of Ethics Board nomination and appointment of Erica Clute-Cuban. Are we just removing Erica?
So
Is that your,
That's my motion.
Support.
confirming that, just because if you just say item B, people probably don't know what you're referring to, so I'm just doing it for
We said 10B.
10B, yeah, sorry. But people don't have it in front of them, so I want to ensure that people understand what it is. So thank you for verifying that that is what it is.
And is there a discussion on that?
I have no discussion.
Okay.
Has she withdrawn?
I said I have no discussion.
Anyone in favor? Oh, well, let's.
Oh, They
if
were
we
in
have-
support.
Yeah.
We have support? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Okay, we have just removed item 10B, which is removing the Erica Clute-Cuban Ethics Board nomination. So that's going to be removed for today. All right, so then, did we approve? Now we need to approve the rest of the agenda. Someone would like to make a motion?
We had a motion to support.
Oh, sorry. Then roll call?
Councilmember Binkowski.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, which is public comment for items on the agenda. If you'd like to come and speak to any item that is on the agenda, we welcome you to the podium. We'll allot you 3 minutes, and we ask that you give your name and address. And not seeing anyone come forward, we will move on from public comment and move to item number 7, which is proclamations and presentations. First one is item 7A, which I'm so excited we're going to do this today because we were going to do it once before and it got preempted due to life situations. So this is a proclamation recognizing our former director of Recreation and Senior Services for Clawson Parks and Recreation Department, Gina Boyd. I see Gina wants to stand up here today, so I'm going to let her, and I'm going to read.
I'm happy to take a seat.
No, we want you to stand up. Whereas Gina was born, and the photographers, please come this way so you can get her. Don't be shy.
Or don't.
No, she'll love it. Do it. Let's make her really happy.
That's a great angle.
Whereas Gina was born in the center of universe, the little city with a big heart, Clawson, Michigan, to Ed and Terry Boyd in the blustery winter of 1982. And whereas Gina was the center of their universe until her little brother Ed arrived. And whereas she and those around her discovered her natural knack for quick wit, humor, and comic relief at the age of 10. And whereas her comedic flair has only been further refined in content, speed, and succession throughout her life and career to the amusement of all, she intentionally and unintentionally entertains, giving her a charm and charisma that is uniquely all her own and appreciated by all. And whereas Gina attended and graduated from Clawson Public Schools, where she excelled in English, served on student council, and as her class treasurer, and whereas she is a graduate of Wayne State University, having majored in communication services and public relations, and whereas Gina distinguished herself as a natural leader and began gravitating to a career in public service at an early age, which is largely attributed to watching her father respond to fire runs as a Clawson volunteer firefighter, coupled with her fun childhood visits to the firehouse. Whereas her career with the City of Clawson began in the 10th grade, working part-time at the Hunter Community Center, to her earning the post and lengthy title of Director of Recreation and Senior Services, Clawson Parks and Recreation Department. Gina, can you still say that?
No.
Okay. And whereas Gina, along with her loving husband Chris, have decided to make a career change for the betterment of their work-life balance and future family, we know this decision was not easy for her. And whereas Gina will undoubtedly miss the playful work sibling infighting and commentary with her work brothers of the DPW, Trevor and Ryan, along with her deep in the mean streets of Clawson being East Side strong with colleague Jenny from the library, they're saying East Side Strong, or ESS, being their ongoing joke yet supportive statement whenever they worked on a project or headed into adventurous times. They would always exchange this phrase that made any situation accomplishable. And whereas Gina made a memorable the observation in the repaired relationship of the city manager and mayor, having equated it to Laverne and Shirley riding bikes together at the 4th of July Kitty Parade. And whereas she will undoubtedly miss the scheduling of 5K runs, juggling the schedules of CYBSL, Mavericks, and soccer, it will be her Parks and Rec patrons, and most notably her beloved seniors, that will miss her friendly smile and atmosphere that she cultivated for them during her tenure with the city of Clawson. And now therefore be it resolved that by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and speaking on behalf of the entire city of Clawson, I do hereby express our sincerest appreciation and gratitude to Gina Boyd for her years of dedicated service to the city of Clawson, and wish her and her family all the best in her future endeavors.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. You guys are gonna make me cry. Come up here. It doesn't. Well, I wrote this before I actually read the proclamation, to be quite honest with you. And
Top the proclamation. That's kind of like
No.
a bike ride with Laverne and Shirley.
but I was funnier way before I was 10.
I thought that when I was reading it too.
So I have a real
Yeah, we all were.
No, I just want to thank everybody. I mean, I worked under amazing people with Mickey and Kathy, and I could never hold a candle to them. My staff was amazing. Jenny and Trevor and Ryan, like I would have never made it through anything without anybody. And our staff at Hunter is amazing. The staff here at City Hall is amazing. So I'm nothing but thankful for everyone. That's
Well, I can speak to your wit and sense of humor because it made everything that we watched you do, and you were amazing, and you do have a great team, but you always were extremely generous in sharing whatever you're doing. Just like now, you don't take credit for things, and that is the sign of a great leader. Not a good leader, a great leader. Come on, guys, let's take a photo.
I figured we'd do one with the mayor and then everyone else.
I mean, whatever you want. Okay, come on, everyone else, including work
Ryan,
family,
Jenny.
work brothers
Scott.
/ sisters, right? ESS, come on, come on.
Oh, we got all these people back.
This will follow you. Oh, maybe not. We're having phone issues right now. Okay, there we go.
Why don't we bow out and let you do it with your people?
Oh,
wait,
we
you want, wait, we need.
Either way, either way.
Yeah, let's do your.
Yeah, we'll do it. I'll do it together.
I think Trevor and Ryan should play down if you like
Go
the
to you, Ryan.
volleyball.
Yeah.
I'm so sad to see you go, Gina.
All right, we have to squeeze in a little bit.
Stack it.
Pretend you like each other.
I would have been down like I need to.
Almost. Oh, sorry. Just get the workers. She'll be really happy.
Hey, Trevor, Ryan. Trevor, Ryan on the other side, hook in.
I'll anchor.
Work sister. Nick, you gotta jump in on this one. Rennis, can you operate the camera? Yes. Thank you.
Nick, let me take it so you can get in.
Rennis
Or
is
let someone
gonna be-
take
Rennis
it.
is
Oh,
going
sorry,
to.
he just asked.
Yeah, Rennis.
See how I pay attention?
Looking good. All right. This is
I took a video.
Thank you, Gina, and all your people. Next up, we have a proclamation honoring the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. This is going to test my eyes. Okay, wrong one. This proclamation is honoring the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, which is May 5th through 11th, 2024. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local government bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal services to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk and deputy clerk. Now, therefore, I, Paula Milan, Mayor of City of Clawson, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our own professional municipal clerk, Jean Michelle Cuckoo, and Deputy City Clerk Vince Smith, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this 7th day of May, 2024. I would like to say, Michelle, you make things, you give confidence in what is done, and you provide such professionalism in all that you do. This past week, I had a conversation with our, you know who I'm talking about, our state clerk. And she was talking about upcoming elections and was really concerned that we had confidence in the elections and we were educated and such. And I unequivocally had no problem stating that we have the utmost confidence in you because you've been here and you're experienced and you would never know where you lie on something. You have no political sway one way or the other. And I think in the climate that we're living in right now, that's really, I think it's really beneficial to all of us, and I think it's a gift to our community. And I just personally would like to say thank you for all that you do for us. You put in a lot of hours. You don't necessarily have to be here. You choose to be here, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So thank you on behalf of all of us for what you do.
Thank you.
Now, can we take a photo with Michelle too, just because why not, right? All right. Come on, Michelle, it'll be fun.
I knew you wouldn't like it.
She didn't make one a fancy board for herself, but we'll make sure she gets one to at least put in the office to share with Vince, right?
All right. All right, awesome.
Thank you. And in all fairness, we should acknowledge Nick, because Nick has the joy of playing city clerk, well, recording duties at some of our meetings. So, and he's also assisted in the city clerk's office. So it takes a village to run this little town with a big heart. So we're fortunate to have a lot of people who are capable and willing. So, now we're going to go on to other business. We're going to start at item number 8, which is consideration of approving the following consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Support.
I'm going to finish reading it. Item A is minutes of the regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. Item B, minutes of the special city council meeting held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. And item C is list of bills in the amount of $3,250,352.27. We have it, we had a motion and a support. If there's no conversation, we'll have roll call.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski.
Yes.
Thank you. We have accepted our consent agenda, and we'll move on to item number 9A. Number 9A, first item is a public hearing for solicitation of public comments on the following items for fiscal year July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. First item is proposed general operating millage rate of 9.0087. Number 2 is additional voted general operating millage rate of 3.6422. Item 3, proposed refuse collection and disposal millage rate of 1.8011. Item 4, proposed additional voted refuse collection and disposal millage rates of 0.7099. Number 5, Clawson Downtown Development Authority District millage rate for real and personal property at 1.9025. Number 6 is the Blair Memorial Library millage rate of 0.8290. Number 7 is additional voted Blair Memorial Library rate millage rate of 0.2787. Item 8, PA 359 promotional millage rate maximum allowed levy of 0.0989. Item 9 is combined debt retirement millage of 4.9000. Number 10 is combined city budgets, and number 11 is a 5-year capital improvement plan. So I'm going to open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak on these, or Mr. Raker, you want to give a summary now, or that'd be great.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. According to Michigan State Law, Act 43 of 1963, quote, "A local unit shall hold a public hearing on its proposed budget. The local unit shall give notice of the hearing by publication in a newspaper of general circulation within the local unit at least 6 days before the hearing. The notice shall include the time and place of the hearing and shall state the place where a copy of the budget is available for public inspection. The notice shall also include the following statement printed in 11-point boldface type. The property tax millage rate proposed to be levied to support the proposed budget will be a subject of this hearing. The City Council has been prepared with all the necessary documentations and workshops to approve the fiscal year 2024-25 combined city budgets. A public hearing is required for the council before their consideration."
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak in the public? Please state your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Nate Hara, 413 Park Drive. As always, I'm grateful for your service. I know you're not paid to be up there, and you dedicate your time to be here every meeting, and I know that's a lot of work, so thank you very much. On this topic, I am a little bit overwhelmed by this many items in one public hearing comment, so it's hard to be educated fully on the gravity of this situation, but with so many specific millages in one topic. So I admittedly am a bit of a disadvantage. I'm not as researched on all of these items as I would like to be. But it's common, I guess, for these to come all at once in one take it or leave it kind of opportunity. I would just like to convey that I very much value Clawson's affordability. It's a town of people who take care of their property on a modest income, and you don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or a congressman to live here, and I think that's wonderful. But I'm concerned that for the future generation ahead, because our debt is getting increasingly high and our payments on those debts reflect an increasing proportion of our operating revenue, it seems like someday we'll spend more on our credit card bill than we will on our day-to-day expenses. So I would appreciate it very much if in this you could put very clearly what this will cost the taxpayers, not only in terms of a millage, which I've heard discussed, it will cost this much more this year, and we'll have to figure out what it is later, but how much money could we be putting into a road or a sewer or a park upgrade or a police officer instead of paying it to the bank on this much more debt? The format of what was presented was just not clear to me in that regard. So, I want new roads and I want new water mains and I want all of that. I truly do. But I don't know how sustainable our quality of life is if we all can't afford to live here anymore. And if the city is in jeopardy of defaulting, it seems to me that right now home prices, our state equalized value is at an all-time high. There's two theories of thought. It will stay that way and it will only go higher, in which case we have nothing to worry about. Or, like happened in 2008, something could change and we would be in a very precarious situation if we incur a lot more debt on revenue we can't guarantee on in the future. So, again, thank you for all of your service and very grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone come forward, we will close the public hearing. Any comments from council regarding this topic? Nope. Great. Yes.
Sorry. I was just going to say, Mr. Riker, for clarity of those questioning or watching, all of these rates in here, we're not renewing or like declaring anything, or these are set rates that are already established. Like, we're not changing anything. And I think that, especially when you say voted on the operating millage, that sort of thing, all of these things were created before. We're just like publicly saying this is what the rates are. We're not voting to increase anything or change anything. The die's already cast for these. Is that correct?
I would say that is accurate, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear to everyone that we're not, when it says, the general operating rate to be levied at the full reduced Headley, reduced fraction of 9.0087, we're not changing anything, that's just what it is, right? I mean, we're not voting to increase, that's what it's been, right?
To say it's exactly that, there's a formula that goes into it. Behind it, all those are the same. Are these the exact same millages from last year? No.
But the formula is the
Yes,
same.
the
And
formula is
we're not
standard.
choosing,
Yes.
we're going to use a 4 instead of a 5 or whatever. We're using the prescribed
Yes, this is-
formula.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're just making it public what it ends up being.
Ma'am.
We're not voting to change anything. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, these are basically millages that were voted on by the citizens previously. They do change with time because you got the Headley rollbacks going on, but basically.
That's the
yes.
formula he was talking about. Yeah,
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Okay, great.
So,
If no one else has anything, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 9C. Oh, wait, no, 9B, sorry. Give me a sec, too many papers. Item 9B is consideration of approving the general operating millage additional voted operating millage, refuse collection and disposal millage, additional voted refuse collection and disposal millage, Downtown Development Authority millage, Blair Memorial Library millage, additional voted Blair Memorial Library millage, PA 359 promotional millage, combined debt retirement millage, combined city budgets, and 5-year capital improvement plan.
Madam Mayor, I move the proposed general operating millage rate of 9.0087, the additional voted general operating millage rate of 3.6422, the proposed refuse collection and disposal millage rate of 1.8011, the additional voted refuse collection and disposal millage rate of 0.7099, the Clausen Downtown Development Authority District millage rate for real and personal property of 1.9025, the Blair Memorial Library millage rate of 0.8290, the additional voted Blair Memorial Library millage of 0.2787, the Public Act 359 promotional millage rate maximum allowed levy of 0.0989, the combined debt retirement millage of 4.9, the combined city budgets, and the 5-year capital improvement plan be approved as presented.
Support.
Thank you. Any comments? Basically what we were just discussing for clarification, right? Okay. Roll call, please.
Oh, we're going to have discussion.
I just said, is there any discussion? You didn't wave your arm like usual, so I assumed you were good, but I would be happy for you to have discussion, Mr. Raker.
To read the summary and rationale.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Per section 608 annual appropriation resolution, tax levy limitations of the city charter, quote, in May of each year, the city council shall pass an annual appropriation resolution, which shall be based on the budget submitted by the city manager as approved or amended by the city council, end quote. This year, the administration and council approached the budgeting season in a much more proactive, collaborative, inclusive manner. Discussions around goals and objectives began as early as January and were on the meeting's agendas for the 8th time when they were finally approved. Additionally, and equally significant, was the hosting of 2 budget discussion meetings in February between city administration department heads and the city council. On April 2nd, 2024, the city council agenda, there was a discussion on the financial impacts from the FY 24-25 budget discussions. After healthy discussion at its special meeting held on April 23rd, 2024, the City Council received and filed the draft budget for FY 24-25. Requested information and documents from the special meeting were provided to the City Council on April 26th. The proposed millage rates for FY 24-25, combined city budgets, and the 5-year capital improvement plan are attached for your consideration.
Mr. Bukowski.
Mr. Raker, during the public hearing, a resident mentioned that our debt service is going up. With this approval of the budget and the various millage rates, is there any debt service going up?
It's staying at 4.9.
The resident also threw out some words like defaulting. Is there any risk in the near term of us defaulting on our debt?
No, Councilman.
Thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that. I do have a concern, though, with the budget, specifically the 5-year capital improvement plan. The 5-year capital improvement plan does not mention road improvements, and some of the sewer and water main improvements that we talked about. The capital improvements plan for the major street fund only lists year by year a salt storage shed. I mentioned this a few weeks ago at the budget session, and I was hoping that we could have another meeting to see if it was rectified, but unfortunately, I was voted down on that, and the other meetings were canceled. I will be voting no on this because I don't find that this 5-year capital improvement plan adequately meets the needs of Clausen.
Thank you, Councilmember Bukowski. Does anyone else have any questions, concerns? Roll call, please, Michelle?
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Minkowski,
No.
Mayor Milan.
Yes. Thank you. We have approved the general operating millage and all of those other millage items and the capital improvement plan. Moving forward. We'll move on to item number 9C, which is consideration of increasing the water consumption rate to $37 per 1,000 cubic feet and increasing the water fixed charge to $15.36 per quarter, increasing the sewer consumption rate to $91.56 per 1,000 cubic feet, and increasing the sewer fixed charge to $21.74 per quarter, maintaining the sewer debt fixed charge at $9 per equivalent meter unit per quarter, effective with billing date starting on July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Raker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The water and sewer rates were increased last fiscal year based on the results of the Raymond Water and Sewer Rate Study. The recommendation for 24-25 fiscal year is to increase rates at the rate equivalent of the pass-through charges for water purchases from Southeast Oakland County Water Authority at the rate of 4.5% for the water consumption and fixed rate. For the sewer charges, the combined pass-through rate increase is 1.9%. The recommended sewer rate increase includes the 1.9 pass-through cost and an additional 0.6% operating increase for a recommended sewer rate increase of 2.5% for both the consumption rate and fixed rate. The sewer debt rate is staying the same at $9 per quarter.
Okay. So, second only to our roads is the topic of water and sewer rates in our city. And I'm going to ask a question that I'm pretty sure I know the answer to, but is there any possible way that how much would it impact us if we were not to adjust our rates moving forward this year, if we took a break from increasing our rates? Is that feasible at all?
Is it feasible? It probably is feasible, but you did just tap into the surplus that we had, the fund balance for the CCTV. And part of that also, I think, was for the additional employees. We do have 2 big projects that are ongoing right now, and we have more that are forthcoming. You have Batter, you have Rochester Road. We have additional water main at, help me out, Nick, here. It's, no, it's thank you, Washington Broadacre as well. So, and there's going to be more coming once we get the CCTV. The pass-through charge is a modest charge. It keeps us in a healthy fund balance that we're going to be spending down for the needs of the system.
Yeah.
We actually, if you recall, I want to say it was maybe 2 years in a row that while we awaited the Raymond study, so it was, last year was 23, 24, so it was 22, 23, there was no rate increase. And I'd have to go back and check and see if there was one the year before I got here, which I got a feeling there wasn't.
Okay.
So the costs are basically passed through from what the county is charging us.
That is correct.
Okay.
So I have 2 questions, or a question and a comment. I think the memo from the finance director, I think had some very important information because it showed the changing from and changing to numbers, which I think are really important to see that it's a relatively small increase, although no one likes an increase at all. But when we were talking about I think it's is it the water fund or the sewer fund that was quite healthy, and we talked about not increasing that? Is that where it says that there was one item that was staying the same? Is that in response to that
That's the
discussion? It's kind of a mark question.
Oh, you're saying the 9%, the $9 per quarter.
Yeah,
the debt-
is that in response to that discussion about that being very healthy and us not needing to change that?
Yes.
All right, that's all I got.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just something that caught my attention on the sewer rates. So it looks to me that they've been declining. Is that, I'm curious what the cause is of that, and do we expect them to change in the next 5 years?
Councilman, are you looking at that handout from
From WRC. This is the sewage share based on water volume percentages.
Can you tell me what page?
Oh, shit, 123 out of 216. I'll just say, I'm glad we're not Troy at 30%.
Okay, sir, and your question again was?
Just as far as, so obviously we have a percentage share of this whole entire system for sewage. So it looks like we were at a higher rate, we seem to be declining. They're using another average for rate per year for 5-year average at, what was it, 2023, 2024 at 3.08. We're now at 3.058, if I'm reading that right. And for where we were before, as a fiscal year 2022, 2023, we're at 2.874. Yep.
I think what you're looking at is that every year adds up to 100%, so.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That,
So-
obviously, our percentages of every community that's part of this, we're declining.
Right.
At some point in time, as we move forward and make some of these changes, are we expecting to have that increase? And what's that going to potentially do for our rate?
I'm speculating here, so Mark, if you can help me out here, but I would imagine based on the changes, it's the capacity or the demand from the surrounding communities that creates a greater demand, and ours is obviously smaller.
Yep.
When we have more taps, certainly that's going to affect the cost, but we'll also have those revenues as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and the county system, I don't know how many years ago it's been now, they went to a fixed charge basis. And they do measure sewer flow in each community, and we've had a decreased sewer flow, but they still increase the cost because of the maintenance and the construction of the facilities continues to go up.
Okay.
1.9% is extremely good compared to past years, because we were consistently 3% or better. But your observations are correct. We are contributing less to the system, and they do take that into consideration when they do the rate increases.
Okay.
So our 1.9% overall increase is less than several other communities, but I don't expect their costs to go down. The best thing that's happened to the entire system probably in the last 15 years, is the facility that was built along I-75. 25 million gallons of storm retention that they didn't have before. That's really gonna help the system, and they can control the release of that. So that, I don't know if anyone saw the massive hole that was dug and they actually had a collapse and they had to fix that. But that was all on MDOT's dime, which was great for us. But that has increased capacity of the entire system, which is probably the best development in the last 15 years.
Okay. So as far as for the capacity of our system, that we may see it also decrease based off of what we plan on doing, or?
Right. They still measure flows from the output of the Clausen system. They have sewer measurement for our combined system. And they do estimates and fixed cost changes based on those flows. And we have had a decrease of flow in the system. So that does result in a lower increase.
Okay. Good, that's what I was looking for. Okay, good, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please, Michelle.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Thank you. We have just, sorry to say, increased the water consumption rates and our sewer consumption rates moving forward to keep in step with what we're being charged. We'll move on to item number 9D, which is consideration of approving the monthly rental rates for Renshaw Apartments effective July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Raker?
The City of Clawson owns and manages a 15-unit apartment complex that consists of 14 single-bedroom apartments and 1 efficiency room. The current rates are $470 per month for each of the single-bedroom apartments and $440 for the efficiency. The last time the rental rates for Renshaw were increased was the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Up until the 2019 fiscal year, the rates were raised $10 per month each year. Since the rates have not been increased for 5 years, it is recommended to raise them to $495 for the 14 single-bedroom apartments and $465 for the single efficiency. If all apartments are occupied for the entire year, the rental income generated would be $88,740.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, roll call, please, Michelle.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski,
Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We've just approved adjusting the rental rates for Renshaw Apartments from $495 for the single-bedroom units and $465 for the efficiencies, effective July 1st. Moving on to item 9E, we have consideration of first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Articles 7, Boards and Commissions and Authorities, Division 3, Fire Department Pension Board of Trustees of the Clausen Code of Ordinances.
I move the first reading of ordinance number, fill in the blank, to amend Chapter 2 of the Clausen Code Administration by making modifications to Article 7 entitled Boards, Commissions, and Authorities, Division 3, Fire Department Pension Board of Trustees, Section 2-36 sub A of the Clausen Code by deleting such sections and replacing the same as provided herein be approved.
Support.
Thank you. Mr. Raker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our Clausen Fire Department is a group of dedicated citizen volunteers. They can earn a retirement benefit calculated by years of service times a monetary multiplier. They become vested in their pension system after 10 years of service and can begin to collect at the age of 50 with 25 years of service or at the age of 55 for years of service less than 25. The current multiplier established in 2004 is $45. For the last 18 months, the city administration has worked with the fire department leadership and the pension board to increase the multiplier. Attached is the estimated cost impact of implementing a new multiplier provided by Foster & Foster actuaries and consultants. Based on this study and in collaboration with our firefighters, the administration recommends an amendment to the current ordinance to increase the pension multiplier to $85. This increase will create an estimated additional first-year contribution of approximately $107,000 from the city to their pension system. This was brought up during the budget discussions on February 13th, and it is within this year's budget that you just voted on.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns? We have representatives from our fire department. Did you have anything you wanted to add to this topic?
Cheaper than a helicopter.
It is, but we're all going to benefit from the helicopter. Okay, then if there are no questions, let's have a roll call, please. Michelle?
Councilmember Binkowski,
Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. We've approved this first reading of ordinance number to be determined, amending our boards and commissions and authorities, fire department pension board of trustees information, and that will be back on our agenda probably in the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 9F, which is consideration to approve the Hartwell Concrete Contract Modification number 26 for miscellaneous concrete pavement and sewer repairs.
Madam Mayor, I move the Hartwell contract modification number 26 for miscellaneous pavement and sewer repairs as presented in the amount of $235,052.29 be approved and paid for from the major and local roads funds.
Support.
Mr. Raker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In an effort to continue making infrastructure improvements, the city has engaged with Hartwell Concrete to continue the miscellaneous concrete program in spring 2024. The Department of Public Works has identified 40 locations throughout the city totaling in 1,480 square yards of concrete or 13,320 square feet. There are 4 maps provided in the city council packet. The maps are as follows. The one is proposed spring 2024 miscellaneous concrete replacement locations. 2 is the completed and proposed locations of miscellaneous concrete program. 3 is the completed and current capital improvement projects. And 4 is the road and water main priority capital improvement projects map. These maps are provided to demonstrate the progress that has been made in the last 2 years and identify future project locations. And also to demonstrate that we are deconflicting our efforts so that any capital improvement program isn't going to come along and take out the miscellaneous concrete. So.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, so the miscellaneous concrete replacement project was what they talked about, where we could do little sections that includes the whole Pacer rating of that street. Is that basically what that is accomplishing?
Yes, it allows us to take portions of that street and with the intention of improving its Pacer rating.
Councilmember?
Was this competitively bid?
This is a contract modification number 26 at Hartwell.
So no.
No, we have a working relationship with Hartwell. And this is our fourth iteration of this program. No, we did not put it out for a competitive bid.
Okay. I will respectfully suggest that our ordinances require any purchase or contracts exceeding $1,000 to be awarded only after competitive bid. And I cannot vote for this because there is no reason why we can't competitively bid concrete patches. So there's my thoughts.
Anyone else?
Renus, do you have any comment on that?
That is a correct statement, as you recall. That is a correct statement, but as you recall, the purchasing agent, which is the city manager in the city, can do away with that bidding so long as 4 members of this body vote for that specific contract. So 4 members, this would require 4 votes.
So if 3 members vote yes and 2 vote no, that means that this is struck down and they're required to go and competitively bid it.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay.
Was it competitively bid in its original,
Yes, many moons ago.
how many years ago?
I don't have that. It's 20, so we've done it 4 times since I've been here. The reason that we're able to do this is we have this relationship with Hartwell. And it had previously been competitively bid. We've had, we've had other demands, whether it's been changes to the budget, where just recently you had a budget amendment where we removed all the grant dollars, and that freed up this money so that we could go forward and do a miscellaneous concrete project. We also went forward with miscellaneous concrete projects to demonstrate to the residents that, hey, we're doing something, we're answering the call on smaller item issues like this. One of the challenges with going out for bid is, again, doing the bid spec and then putting it out there for the competitive bid, the time, and then also what we potentially would get from that, and whether or not we'll get it done in a timely fashion. We have a rapport with Hartwell. We communicate with them as far as when we have the opportunity to do these things, so that part of it is his availability as well. If you recall, we bolted one on in the fall because his schedule fell through, and we had the money and the work that needed to be done. So with a budget amendment that occurred, where we changed everything because the revenues weren't realized from those grants we had put in the original budget, we went forward and asked to do miscellaneous concrete number 4 to get some momentum going for the spring.
I'm just trying to remember, it's been a few years, when we did miscellaneous concrete project number 1, was it competitively bid?
It was a Hartwell modification, probably back then, it was probably modification 22.
So it was a modification to an existing bid that had already been competitively bid?
Yes.
So we're kind of adding to what was originally competitively bid? Okay.
The original concrete pavement repair program was 2014, so that's 10 years ago. There's absolutely no reason why we should not competitively bid this project.
Actually, they're all the reasons I just stated.
I see the wisdom in competitively bidding, though, and not to be an obstructionist here, but we need to prove to the community time and time again that we're going to be a good fiduciary of their funds, and that means that we're going to. And if Hartwell ends up being the best bid, then great, we did our job. But the ordinances, or it's ordinance that you were referencing, right? Or the charter, which is it?
It is an ordinance, ma'am.
It's ordinance, right?
2.208 says power of council.
All right,
And
so-
upon recommendation of the city manager as purchasing agent, you may dispense with competitive bid.
Right. So the ordinance is there, though, to make sure that we're always getting the best deal, just like you do when you're looking for something for your home or whatever. You make sure you get the best deal, and then I think we owe it to the residents to make sure that we do that as well.
Mr. Ricker?
Gentlemen, would either one of you like to step forward and advocate for our approach?
Madam Mayor?
If I may, in the meantime.
Madam Mayor, I respectfully suggest that it is not time for comment from off the dais unless we approve it.
This is dialogue with the administration on a topic in the agenda.
Representative for the administration.
And I will defer to the professional who does work with the streets and the roads and the water. And the
We can waive
sewers.
the rules.
Madam Mayor, I'd like
Yes,
to hear
sir.
from Trevor, if we could, please.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we want to, let's just hear from Trevor.
I think he acts as a representative of Mr. Raker at this point.
He does.
Is it okay if I talk?
Yes.
Of course it is. Thank
Good
you.
evening. So this contract mod comes with 0 price increase from the year previous. I can tell you with talking with our engineering firm and other communities, we go out to bid, there is a price increase. It's your call, your guys' choice. I'm just saying we are not going to get a savings if we go out to bid.
And I believe we had the same conversation previously when we were doing other modifications, and that was what was found. And I know I work for an engineering firm. I know concrete people are tough to get. I was really impressed. I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Raker, about their availability last year and their willingness to come to us and say, we can get this in for you. Anybody won't do that. And the size and scale of some of our projects don't really lend that other larger, some organizations aren't going to do it just because of the size and scope for us. And I am all for saving money for our community, but I think maintaining the price is telling you right there that we have a good provider, because he could also have tried to increase his rates on us for this project. So,
Can you clarify, are you saying that if we go out to bid, then Hartwell is going to increase their rate?
Yeah, it'll be a competitive bid. So they're going to be competitively bidding on that project. Therefore, that competitiveness will go up. They will, never mind. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say next. But it's going to be higher. They'll still probably be on the lower end, but they're going to bid like all their other bids go. Currently, they promised us we will not do a price increase for the spring.
Because they like us so much, or because we're not checking the market to make sure that they're
Because
in line with everybody
they
else?
want to continue to work in the city.
So one of the challenges with construction is lining up your next job. And when they know that we have a plethora of jobs for them. And so we just didn't have, this modification in the 4th iteration of this miscellaneous concrete program, should a bond initiative be successful, we will then morph the miscellaneous concrete program into a competitive bid so that it's a more predictable and not reactionary program like we have now. So this is an opportunity that we had with Hartwell. We want to take advantage of the opportunity so that we can get some momentum going for this spring. It's going forward in February, in the fall. In the fall, there might be one last one because we won't have the bond had not, it wouldn't have come and gone by then. So there's a possibility, but I stand by Hartwell's willingness to work with us and their availability. For a small market like this, for the small jobs that we have, you're going to pay probably a heck of a premium for a mobilization cost, or you're not going to get very many to bid on this project anyway. So,
Madam Mayor, so what is in jeopardy as far as project timing? If we decide that, okay, we need to move forward with something else and having 3 RFPs?
It will not happen this spring.
Okay. So we delay that by how long?
Fall.
Depends on how their availability?
I can tell you right now, we go to bid, we could hope for midsummer, but with availability, most of these contractors already booked up. It's probably gonna be fall. So with Hartwell, the plan would be we do a spring and a fall.
Okay. And if we postpone it?
It'll just be fall.
Just be fall.
With a maybe on the fall.
Maybe, yeah.
But that's, in all this, I can't tell you for sure. I'm just telling you the way I see everything falling and with communicating with other communities.
Councilmember Binkowski.
Last year, you stood up here at the, for the fall contract modification for Hartwell and said that you would like to get back to competitive bidding. But now we're not getting back to competitive bidding. We're yet modifying this once again on a 10-year-old contract modification number 26. So my other question for you is, why didn't we just put this out for bid 3-4 months ago?
3-4 months ago, we were doing the budget amendment.
You can still put it out for bid.
This was part of the process. This was not thought of at that time.
Okay.
You know, Mr. Binkowski, I take great umbrage with the fact that you're trying to besmirch the efforts of the administration. You put a lot of effort into that. And so I would appreciate some cooperation on this matter, please.
As far as getting this work done, there's more at stake than price. There's also timing and availability.
Yep.
Apparently, you know, once you go to bid, you may very well get a better price than Hartwell.
They might not be.
And that's a big if. But one thing is for certain, timing will suffer. So if we're in no hurry to fix our infrastructure, yeah, go ahead and put out to bid for as many contracts as you like. But if you want infrastructure improved, like, say, quickly or even now, then you might want to say, maybe we're going to go on the assumption that we've had a good relationship with Hartwell. Their prices apparently have not gone up much since 2014 relative to the industry. Is that a correct statement?
There was an increase last year, but from last year to this year, there was no increase.
Okay. How much of that's going on in the construction industry in general? No increases. So I think based on your judgment, what we're looking at, we can pretty well bet that if we go to competitive bidding, we're not going to get a better deal, and we'll have less of a relationship. Now, that said, the ordinance stands, unfortunately. So I guess one thing we can do to get around this is to simply, perhaps 4 out of 5 of us vote to allow, we don't have to competitively bid, and we move on.
You know, the point's well taken, though. I mean, this is not the first time we've had this conversation about getting competitive bids, and that's what we're supposed to do. And, gosh, you know, the rules are the rules, man.
If I may, as
Go ahead.
Councilman Binkowski said, I stood up here and said, we need to get back to competitive bid. Still 100% agree with that. However, I also need to get work done. And I need to get work done, not next year, I need to get it done now. So I want to do the best I can for the community, and this is the best way I can see it. The choice is up to you. This is the best way I can see doing it.
Could we approve this, well, we're talking about spring, so if we approve the spring work now, and then any fall, any future work must be competitively bid, that keeps us on schedule. Will Hartwell go along with that as it all?
They'll have to, I mean, but I would think, here's a couple things in play here, is that you have to keep the momentum going, and that is to keep the miscellaneous concrete program in the spring and in the fall. Chances are, we have this locked in. If we go out to competitively bid that, that'll change definitely for the fall. Not sure how much is going to be gained by that, but, I mean, we could pursue that. You support this, I'll meet you halfway and put it out for competitive bid. I'd still disagree with it, but I'll do it for the fall.
Yeah, I would say,
Meet me halfway, council member, pro tem.
all the thoughts in my head, you know,
Structure now.
if I were to vote yes, I will look you in the eye and say, this is the very last time I will ever vote yes on anything that is not competitively bid according to the ordinance. And I know and I've only been back on council since November, and we've had this conversation already once before. So, you know, it's such a double-edged sword because the roads are so important and they're so horrific and so much needs to be done that, you know, to stymie progress on getting some road work done. But also, I think I said last time that all we're doing is rewarding bad behavior, and we all know you're not supposed to do that. And so letting this fly without competitive bidding, again, would be rewarding bad behavior. So I, again, look you in the eye and say, I will never, ever, ever vote to usurp that part of the ordinance again if I vote yes.
Even as the ordinance does allow us with a 4-person vote to suspend competitive bidding. Now, is dispensing with competitive bidding always bad behavior? It can be. It just depends on the situation. And here, with an ongoing relationship that apparently has been mutually beneficial to all parties, there is at least some reason to go forward with a non-competitive bid. Again, that requires 4 out of 5 of us, and there has to be really
But we don't know.
extenuating
We
circumstances.
don't know if it's mutually beneficial until we test it, right? You know, it reminds me of something that happened at work recently. I took over some work that someone had been doing, and this woman had been sending out this report to 5 people in the business for years. And when I took over the report, I reached out to all those 5 people and said, do you still use this report? Do you still use this report? Do you still use this report? And only 2 of the people used only half of the report. And so unless you ask the question, we don't know if we're getting a great deal or not. We don't know who else would really want to vie for the business and give us a great deal. We don't know. And that's why something like this is in place, is so that we know. We can guesstimate and we can speculate, but we don't really know until we go out for the competitive bid. And that's why something like this is in place, so that we absolutely know that we're getting the best deal. And that's why it's important to do.
Which is true, but it's also important that we maintain our progress for the promises that we're on a good momentum, and the administration, everyone's working really hard together to get these things done, and let's continue to be encouraging. Let's take care of some of these small things. I would suggest we approve the spring and ask you to go for a competitive bid for fall. And anything moving forward. I'm confident that Hartwell will do their best to come in, and they'll probably even hold that time in the fall, because they're going to want our work, right? And then everyone can have confidence that we're doing the absolute best that we can for our community without stopping progress. Like, it would just be bad for us to say, out of spite, out of technicalities, to hold up progress when we have progress going. Like, it's such a happy time that we can actually see things that are being put together and are being accomplished. Let's not stop that for something that's important but not critical. Let's fix the critical moving forward.
So you diminish the validity of adhering to the ordinance by calling it spite or technicalities, because it's not in any way spite or technicalities.
We can do it, but if there weren't a possibility for us to do it around that, then I would say that it didn't matter. But like, just to say, I'm just asking that we keep momentum, and unless anyone has anything else to add. Councilmember Shepherd?
Momentum is key here. We have a relationship with Hartwell, right? They have locked their prices in place now. Now, I don't want to stop momentum. I want to make sure that what we said as far as improving the roads, we improve the roads. The one thing that I would ask is there another process that we can go out, and I don't know if it's a request for information, just to find out who may be interested in doing something in the meantime, with no guarantee that they would be part of that process, that, hey, we're curious if you're interested in doing something for us in the future. So this is something that I'm familiar with in my line of work, that, look, I know I'm not necessarily going to be the one that's awarded the business, but at the same time, guess what? I want to show that I have good faith in supporting your community with something.
Built in capacity to perform the work.
Exactly.
Right? That's what's critical in this type of a work. You have to know that someone has a schedule and the capacity to take on projects within Clawson. Because you're correct, this industry, they're booked. They're booked through the summer, if not into the fall. Yes, sir?
I respectfully suggest that competitive bidding creates competition, reduces potential fraud, and is good for capitalism. This is how business is done in construction, in municipalities and governmental entities all throughout the United States. This isn't something strange. And it's in our ordinance. We must do it unless there's an extraordinary circumstance. So I will be voting no.
Thank you. And I would just say that our schedule is an extraordinary circumstance, and I hope people understand that.
I think consideration for our roads is extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah.
We need to get them fixed.
Okay.
Out of general deference to the general concept, yes, competitive bidding has a way of shining the light on true costs. That said, I guess, Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
you had said you'd be in favor of supporting, would it be this entire contract or a part of the contract, whereas in the future, we do competitive bidding on the concrete?
So the contract's for the spring work, right?
Correct.
not for the fall work, right? So we're gonna have to bid, I mean, that's what Mayor Milan was saying, this, just the spring work, the fall work's gonna have to go out to bid, so this
So
is just for the spring
So
work.
this represents all of spring, there's
Right.
no fall in here, is that?
Right.
Mr. Raker?
Okay. Want to make sure it was all broken out properly.
It's not necessary, but if someone would want to amend the motion with the caveat that the fall program will be bid out, maybe that'll put you at ease.
I think so.
I don't know who made the, does it matter? Does anyone? I'll do it. Would like to amend that motion to say that the fall bidding will go out. The fall project will go out for bid.
Support.
Thank you. Councilmember Pinkowski.
I've noticed on the miscellaneous concrete map here that we do not even list the 2024 fall program. We have the 2022 and 23 fall and spring, the 2023 spring, 2023 fall, then the 2024 spring proposed. So, and I don't recall there being additional budget for a fall program.
We'll bring it forth to you. There'll be a fourth quarter budget amendment, and we can, actually, no, that would be that'll be a budget amendment in the first quarter for the fall.
Okay. With no further questions, let's have a vote, please, Michelle.
And we're voting on the amendment first.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski.
No.
Okay, and now we have the other motion we need to vote on.
You ready? Mayor Pro Tem Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski,
No.
Mayor Milan.
Yes. Thank you,
you.
team, for moving this contract on for miscellaneous pavement for the spring. And as stated, bids will be taken for any work thereafter. Moving on to item number 9F is consideration, we scratched that off. Item G, which is consideration of awarding the bid for the Complete Distribution System Materials Inventory Program.
Madam Mayor, I move that the bid for the CDSMI program be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, Pipeline Management Company, LLC, be awarded in the amount of $234,108.
Support.
Mr. Raker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Via the Complete Distribution Systems Material Inventory, CDSMI program, the Environmental Protection Agency and the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, require all municipalities to submit physical verification documentation of a determined number of water service leads as part of the program. Based on EPA and EGLE requirements, the city is required to physically verify 351 service leads in 3 distinct locations: on the street side of the curb stop, on the house side of the curb stop, and at the location of the meter in the home. The information is required to be submitted to the EPA and EGLE by October 16, 2024. During the February 6, 2024 City Council meeting, the City Council approved a proposal to have AEW provide professional service to oversee the program to be paid with ARPA funds. Following the public bid process, AEW has reviewed all the bids and provided their recommendation of award. The administration suggests the use of ARPA funds for this program. Currently, there is approximately, and there's a correction to that number, the number is approximately $764,000 remaining in ARPA fund balance. This agenda item directly supports the FY 23-24 goals and objectives. Goal 5, Objective 4, identify lead lines in the city and private water lines per current Michigan state mandates of the distribution system material inventory in advance of January 1st, 2025, and identify a plan to replace 5% per year.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Councilmember Binkowski.
Mr. Raker, how many bids did we get for this project?
This bid spec, I'll have to take a look at it. I believe it was in the,
There's 6 of them. 5 bids came through, 1 was not read due to it being incomplete.
And when did we go out for bids on this?
what's the date here? Project.
Or when did council approve it, I should say?
You approved it with the $50,000 award to AEW to do the bid spec.
Oh, no, I know. When was that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, the reason I bring it up is it just seems like we got these bids in here very quickly, and
It's been a couple months.
a month and a half. And we got 6 bids. We got 6 companies willing to do business with Clausen. And I think that's great. And I'll be voting to award this to the low bid.
Thank you for sharing that information with us. Anyone else?
Is it, Mr. Raker, you contracted AEW to go get the bids?
They do all the bid spec, and they come here and they open the bids with the city clerk.
And how much do we pay AEW?
Do the bid spec and all of that, the administration of it, it was $50,000.
So,
And they're going to oversee the project as well.
so $50,000 really moved things along quickly, didn't it? My point being that, yes, you throw enough money at something, you can make something go faster. Yes. That's my point. The point I'm making is, yes.
I hear it loud.
It wasn't a cut and dry go to bid. There was another step in the process.
Absolutely.
And the step which we paid for, $50,000,
for it.
which had to be paid,
In exchange of a couple months in the calendar.
yeah, made things go faster. I don't know that we want to do that as a regular basis. We did it for that. Going forward, I'm guessing we can handle our own bids, which may move a little slower.
It would also be fair to state that depending on the type of work you're looking for bids for, you will receive a different number of people willing to do the work. So lots of variables. That's what's so fun about all of this, right? Yes, sir.
Well, I'm just glad we didn't have a relationship with the Taplin Group, because they came in $200,000 over the low bidder. So I'm very happy we went out to bids on this, like we should on any project.
I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I think we can go for a vote now. If everyone's ready. Michelle?
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes?
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes. Thank you, and congratulations, Pipeline Management Company LLC. You have just been awarded our bid for the CDSMI project. Moving on to item number 9H, consideration of a resolution in support of a grant application to be submitted to Oakland County for the Complete Distribution System Materials Inventory, known as CDSMI program.
So moved.
Mr. Raker.
As part of the Oakland County Local Fiscal Recovery Fund created via ARPA funding, a program was created to provide local governments with financial assistance for costs associated with the planning and design of critical ARPA-eligible water, sewer, and water infrastructure projects and a grant administration plan. This program matches eligible expenditures up to $100,000. The city administration and DPW are recommending that the city use this program to help fund the CDSMI program. As the city council was previously presented the bids for the CDSMI program, this grant funding will help fund that program. In order to submit a completed application, a resolution from the governing body stating their support of the application is required.
Thank you. Any questions?
And Mr. Raker, I think you mentioned that the pot of money, shall we say, that we're applying for this grant is about $2.5 million.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're hoping for 100,000 of it,
Correct.
which, is it possible we may get less than 100,000, or is it 100,000 or nothing? How's that?
I don't get the impression that it's all or nothing. But Trevor, do you have any information on that?
Good evening. So this has actually already been applied for, and we were awarded the 100,000.
All right.
So this is just, we need this to go with the interlocal agreement.
Oh, so it's already been awarded then?
Yes.
That's great.
Say we vote yes.
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes?
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Thank you, and we are very happy to support a resolution for money that was already awarded to us. So thank you to everyone for working, for getting us free money. We appreciate that. Item number 9I is consideration of awarding the bid for the East 14 Mile Road and Florence Street pedestrian signal repair and Hawk beacon conversion. Thank you. Mr. Raker?
Defer to Nick on this one.
September 2022, the city received a grant from the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Association, to install a Hawk crosswalk beacon, which is a high-intensity activated crosswalk beacon at the intersection of East 14 Mile Road and Florence. There is currently a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, RRFB, that is at that pedestrian island that was installed in 2015. For your reference, the city also has a crosswalk beacon at the intersection of West 14 Mile and Washington Avenue. Going back to the current location, which is on Florence, that pedestrian island was struck in a car accident in May 2023. Due to the accident, the city had to wait for insurance claims to process and the county to review and approve the construction of this device. Due to the extended timeline, the city also had a warrant study conducted related to the foot traffic to ensure that a Hawk crosswalk beacon is warranted at this intersection. The warrant study conducted by AEW in September 2023 did confirm that a Hawk crosswalk beacon is warranted at this location. The city received 2 qualified bids, and AEW has recommended to award the bid to Rawhorn Electric LLC with a bid of $95,308. The grant received from the MEDC will cover the cost of construction of the Hawk crosswalk beacon, and the balance of the proposed work will be reimbursed from the insurance company.
So, I just want to clarify, so there's no cost to the city, it's all from grant, and then from the insurance company, we don't have any expense for this?
So the grant award for the MEDC was for $80,000 to install the beacon, and the insurance will be covering the rest of that amount.
So the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and just for my clarification, the what was there before was just not small, but they were white LED that flash, as opposed to, what is it, red and yellow flashing
The
LED?
Hawk beacon will go above the road, and so it's more visible for drivers, and it does flash after someone hits a button for you to cross safely. The one right now is on the side; it's a little bit out of the view, so it allows for safer pedestrian access to cross the road.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone else? Roll call, please, Michelle.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. We've just approved Rohan Electric be awarded the bid for the Hawk beacon conversion at Florence Street. Moving on to item 9J, we have consideration of approving the land division request to split the property commonly known as the middle school parking lot and Straub Avenue, parcel ID 2033-429-007, into 2 parcels by splitting the eastern 60 by 300 feet of Lot 5.
I move that the land division request to split the eastern 60 by 300, is that feet, of parcel ID 20-33-429-007 of Lot 5 of the Clausen Little Farm subdivision as recorded in Lieber 9, page 20, Oakland County records be approved as presented.
Support.
As shared during the April 16th, 2024 City Council meeting, the city and school district have been in discussions to conduct a land swap. This proposed land swap includes 2 parcels, 2033-429-007, Parcel A in Exhibit A, and 2033-476-020, Parcel B in Exhibit A. In order to properly execute the land swap, a section of Parcel 2033-429-007 would need to be split from its parent parcel. This land division request submitted by the school district to split the eastern 60 feet by 300 feet would allow the newly created parcel to be swapped with the land currently located in the high school roundabout owned by the city. We have provided all related attachments for the lot split and land swap for your reference. The only action being requested tonight is to approve the lot split with the public hearing for vacating an area of John M. and the land swap scheduled to be on the May 21st City Council agenda. This land swap is being conducted to provide improved alignment between the properties owned by both entities. It is important to note that this land swap is not related to the previous conversations between both the city and school district and has been in process for many months working on the agreement language. So just for clarity, this is a continuation of discussion from last meeting.
Okay. Nick, maybe for the benefit of the audience, if you could describe in maybe simple terms what piece of property the city is giving to the school district and what the school district is giving to the city.
So the two areas being discussed right now is the roundabout area right in front of the high school, which is currently deeded to the city for street purposes only. And then the area of Straub Ave, which is where the post office drop boxes are located, is going to be split from the entire parcel, which includes the parking lot in front of the middle school. And so by splitting off that piece of the lot, which is where Straub Ave is, we're able to, the city's able to own that piece of land, and the school will be able to own the roundabout to reconfigure their lot accordingly with their redevelopment of the site.
Are we having a public hearing now, or is that in the future?
The lot split does not call for a public hearing, but the public hearing scheduled for May 21st is for the vacating of John M.
Okay, and my other question is, do we have any kind of diagrams of what their plan is, what the school district's plan to reconfigure their thing? I know it doesn't matter, we're swapping properties, they can do what they want, but.
So the city engineers, AEW and DPW, have been meeting with the contractors for the school district from the start of their property, so they're aware of what it is. Essentially, what the school district is planning is a horseshoe off of Phillips to go around to the current roundabout of high school, and then the exit will go back onto Phillips as well.
Okay, it might be nice if we before the end.
We did request a rendering of that. We haven't received it yet, so that's why it's not included in the packet.
Okay.
So if I may comment, I'll call it the raceway of John M., right in front of the now new middle school, that will be gotten rid of, and it'll just be one giant horseshoe.
Correct. There's not going to have a separate drop-off area for the middle of school and high school. It'll be one combined ingress and egress point.
Yep. And then the elementary school, I believe, will have a separate drop-off entrance. But one thing I forgot to ask was regarding the mailboxes that are currently on Straub. Are they getting moved at all, or where would they be?
Those are located on the stretch of land that's being split. And so the city's intent, I believe at this point, would be to maintain Straub as that thoroughfare and to have those stay in that location. And then the school district will take care of, I believe the curb is right on that property line, so they'll renovate accordingly for their plans.
Do we need to coordinate anything with the post office when it comes to that, moving their property?
We're not moving it.
I don't think there's going to be a need to move them, but if it comes to the point where they do need to be moved for the construction of that lot, we'll definitely work with them hand in hand.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Thank you. We have just approved the land division requests for the split at Clausen Little Farm subdivision as previously stated. Moving on to consideration of a public hearing. This is a second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend the Clausen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 46, adding Section 46-199, driving on a license suspended, denied, revoked, or never acquired, and adding Section 46-200, allowing an unlicensed person to drive along with definitions and sanctions therein.
I move the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 780 to amend the City of Clausen Code of Ordinance, Chapter 46, adding 46-199, driving on a license suspended, denied, revoked, or never acquired, and adding Section 46-200, allowing an unlicensed person to drive along with definitions and sanctions therein, be approved and ordered published.
Support.
Mr. Newshire.
Madam Mayor, as you recall, this is obviously, we spoke about this last time. This is the work that we've been doing to ensure that we have our own ordinance with our own two ordinances. This body has previously adopted the motor vehicle code, so we've been operating on these two ordinances pursuant to the motor vehicle code. Pursuant to the conversations that we've had with Judge McGinnis and some of the work that the 52-4 District Court is doing, it was thought advisable to have our own ordinance with our own sanctions so there would be no confusion whatsoever. I should mention that there was a mistake in the previous iteration of this in one of the numbers. Instead of 46, it was 76 or something like that. It's a non-substantive mistake. It was just simply done in the title. We've corrected that. Otherwise, no language has been changed. So,
Okay. Any questions? Roll call, please, Michelle.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yeah.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Thank you.
Thank you. We've just approved that ordinance number 780 with the aforementioned amendments. Moving on to item 9L, consideration of reappointment of Greg Hildebrandt to the Zoning Board of Appeals to an expired term to expire December 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Support.
Yes, sir?
I'm wondering if you, I went back and I looked, because I went to a couple of zoning board of appeals meetings, and I don't remember Mr. Hildebrandt there, so I went back and noticed over the last 2 years, well, this year and last year, there's been 4 ZBA meetings, and Mr. Hildebrandt's only been at 1. So I'm wondering, has there been some illness in his family? Is there some sort of reason he can't make it? Because I guess my thought is, I'd like to give the position to someone who will show up.
I would say that those are questions that we don't ask, and I would also say that he showed interest by submitting his application, and also the chair of the ZBA was welcoming him back, and that's all I know about that. But Nick, you had your hand up?
Yeah, there was a matter, without violating anyone's privacy, there was an issue that drove his absence, which has now been addressed.
Did you have something, Nick? No?
Couldn't say it better myself.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hildebrand, thank you for your willingness to serve on our Zoning Board of Appeals. We look forward to having you serve again until December 31st, 2026, should you so choose. Moving on to item number 10A, we have consideration of nomination and reappointment of Annie Fenton to the Board of Ethics to an expired term to September 15th, 2023 to expire September 15th, 2026.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Annie Fenton, thank you for your willingness to serve our Board of Ethics, and we welcome you to another term expiring on September 15th, 2026. Item number 10B is consideration of nomination and, oh no, we took that one off, ignore me, backtrack, erase. Moving on to item number 10C, which, whatever, 10B, 10C, consideration of hosting continued discussion on potential bond ballot language.
Madam Mayor, I move to host discussion on potential bond ballot language.
Support.
Mr. Raker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the April 16, 2024 regular city council meeting, the administration was directed to develop potential bond language for council's future consideration. Discussion was had at the special meeting on April 23, 2024, at which a consensus was reached to not include language regarding building facilities and focus on roads, sewers, and water mains. Within the last week's Friday feedback, I provided council with a request for them to consider the inclusion of our city parking lots. Below is new draft bond ballot proposal language for your consideration, which uses the 2-point mill increase over the 2023 millage rate as an example for further discussion. And in addition to the stated language below would be your consideration of the various millage options that were briefed by PFM at the April 16th meeting. It is anticipated that we will continue to host discussion on this issue potentially at each regular council meeting with the goal of having approved language by the June 18th city council meeting. Coming to a consensus on the inclusion of city parking lots in language provided would be an ideal outcome for this evening, with the understanding that greater granularity of the financial impacts to residents on each of the millage options needs to be generated.
Okay.
So for reasons stated at the last meeting about making sure that the bond proposal was only for roads, I would not support including the parking lot or other related site improvements. You know, and I think we were pretty clear at the meeting that we need to have this proposal be just for the roads and nothing else. And I would continue saying that's necessary for this proposal.
Madam Mayor.
Any other comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
echo Councilpersons Moffat's thoughts on that. I will also like to say that before I would vote to put this on the ballot, I would need to see a year-by-year plan, which roads will be fixed, what's the estimated cost, which water mains will be fixed each year along the life of the bonds.
Okay,
Madam
thank
Mayor.
you. Yes, Mr.
For
Ricker.
clarification, when I say the city parking lots, I mean the parking lots that are in the business area.
I got that.
And those are, and if you stop and, if you consider this, if you have something for the businesses, which it sorely is needed, that is a heck of a place for a campaign and education, perpetuation of that information, I think would be helpful. But if it's council's desire to not include them, so be it.
Sorry.
Is it possible that you could provide an estimate of how much those parking lots would cost? And I know the parking lots are of huge concern, right? They're a mess. So is it possible that you could break that out just to see what the percentage of that would be? Because it's can't be a large percentage.
I agree. It's
Just for
probably
clarity.
for the whatever option council decides to hopefully go with. I agree the cost to repair those in exchange for, I think, the positive publicity you would receive far outweighs the cost. I mean, our businesses are part of the Clawson community. They do pay taxes, and I think it would be wise to include something for the businesses. But I will do my best. I'll work with AEW to see if we can break that out as to how much something like that would cost.
Excuse me, Councilmember Anderson.
I was saying, Mr. Raker, yeah, I understand the concern that this was a late add to the whole process. And you did lay out a plan with 37 priority projects, and I think that was in the packet. However, there were no parking lots among those 37, right?
Correct.
I understand your sentiment towards offering something to the businesses because whatever bond we pass, the businesses are going to pay about 15% of that. The residents will pay about 85%. I guess if maybe Mr. Pollock could perhaps give us a little more elaboration on that. But yeah, at this point, if we're going to put them in the mix, they need to be put on the list. So, yeah.
Yes.
Perhaps if we did have a list of year by year, what we're going to do and how much we're going to spend on roads, and if people see, oh, we're spending, X million on roads and only a small portion on parking lots, it'd be a little easier to sell.
Well, I think if you were to
Excuse
attend
me,
the-
can you please just let me finish?
I thought you were
And-
finished.
No, I
Okay,
wasn't.
I'll stop.
Yeah, now I lost my train of thought, but thank you. So go ahead, sir.
So the point was, if you would have attended the meeting, that was your advocacy was the genesis for that meeting, and you were not there.
I
And
watched that
was-
entire meeting, sir.
I'm glad you did, and there was a list that was provided to you.
And all I'm asking for you is to put that list in a year-by-year format so we know where the money is going to go year after year. It's not that hard. At least I don't think it's that hard. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, isn't that something we've discussed repeatedly, and that's something that will come, right? That is something that will come once we determine the cost, or like how much we're going to try and obtain, and there's a lot of variables that go into that. It's kind of early for that at this point, I would
The
think.
list will be the list regardless of what you put on the ballot, whether it's the gold or the bronze. It'll be the list. Whatever's at the top for that $44 to $65 million, that's what it will be. And you
But-
did receive that list.
But if some of the money goes to parking lot improvements and other site improvements.
That is a new factor.
That means that the residents, the list of streets that are gonna get addressed diminishes. And this is, the whole intention of fighting for this bond is to, in response to the residents, the people who vote, the people who asked us to make this a priority, and doing anything other than that. And we were all of that consensus at the meeting before, when we talked about the budget. We were all very adamant that it needs to be about the roads, period. And I think we need to stick to that.
That's fine.
And I liked, on page 212, you gave some really good examples of what the rate increase would be. And I think we need to really carefully consider that. And when we approach this to the community about how much it's going to cost them, the people that are going to bear the brunt of this action. And it was interesting because as I was reading this, I went and pulled my own assessment so that I could compare it to what it was. And having had bought my house in 1991, it's obviously on the lower end of these. But the thing that caught my eye in looking at this assessment was that my tax rate was going to go up anyhow because my house marginally went up. So I have a $139 increase out of the gate and so your table 1A shows that if we didn't have a bond, then 139 is going to be my only tax increase. I can break even, or I can break even with, renewing it at the same rate that it is. But I think that those are the things to take in consideration. We have a lot of senior citizens. I'm 60, but a lot of people who are older than me. I'm a senior citizen, but a lot of people that are older, and so that money's hard to come by them, and there's already an increase on the table for these people. We're asking them to pony up some additional money and to do anything other than fix the roads that they've requested us to do time and time again, I think it's disingenuous to the community.
Yeah, I sympathize with what you're saying, Mayor Pro Tem, that if we're going to add parking lots to this project, then they need to be, for example, we have 1 through 37 right now. All of those are streets. If we have some parking lots that are in deplorable condition, fair enough, we just have to add them to the list, maybe a couple parking lots, and the streets, item numbers 36 and 37, just kind of drop off the list. If it comes to that, do we have any city parking lots that are in tough condition at this point?
They are all challenged in some way, shape, or form.
We don't have a Pacer rating for a parking lot.
No, we don't have a Pacer rating.
But if we did, is there one in particular that outshines them all, shall we say?
I'd say they all kind of shine at various times.
Okay.
So, they all have their challenges. Whether it's the configuration of the lot itself, the placement of the dumpster enclosure, the smaller, need for more dumpsters. It's a challenge. Yeah. I just threw that in there as an approach to give something to the businesses because it's sorely needed. Mm-hmm. And our residents do frequent those establishments, so it's their benefit as well. It's not a hill I'm going to die on. If council wants to stick to the meat and potatoes of roads, water mains, and sewers, I'm all right with that.
Okay. As far as the housing values, we've seen them increase over the past couple of years now since we've come out of the recession. What do improved roads do for home values?
I'm a rhetorical story I could tell is the former I think Pro Tem, didn't you tell a story about somebody?
So the former school
Wilson,
superintendent
Wilson.
used to live next door to me, and when he sold his house, get away from me, no. When he sold his house, his buyer was able to negotiate, I think it was a $20,000 price reduction based on the roads. The other true story that I've told is the Uber driver that picked me up, right? And as soon as I got in the car, he said to me, "Do you pay taxes in this city?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I grew up in Baghdad, and our roads were better than the roads that I just drove on." Our roads are bad, and I get that there's roads in the city that are bad, but the citizens who have dealt with bad roads have dealt with them for a long, long time, and we owe it to them to make that a priority, to fix just that and address the other things. I mean, we've told them to wait how long, right? And I don't think we can tell them to wait, number 37 and 36 and 37, we can't tell them to wait longer so that we can take care of someone else. I mean, we need to listen to them.
Perhaps like the other facilities we discussed in our meeting, the parking lot should perhaps be treated as a separate topic.
I agree.
That seems fair.
Within that facilities topic then.
Sure, exactly.
And then when, in the language here, it states parking lot improvements, and then together with all related site improvements. And the all related site improvements also speaks to the roads, is that true?
Yes, it's
Right.
kind of the
So
catch-all. We'll
then-
remove the parking lot
Yeah,
out.
that's what I figured. So then when we do education, can we please be specific on the all related site improvements, what actually would fall underneath that, so that we don't have people thinking, so they don't think we're
It'll
doing a
be-
bait and switch on them later on.
No,
That's
it
all
it
I'm
won't be.
concerned about.
It won't be.
Yeah, thank you.
So for the next meeting, then, we'll just change this language and we'll have more of the financial impacts based on the gold, the silver, and the bronze plan.
Okay, great. Then, any other questions on this?
Yes, actually, just looking at the verbiage here, it talks about 3.5 mils, which would be on top of, I think, 3.4, which brings us to the 6.9 in this graph, right? Which I believe is the gold plan. Just
Yes,
for
yes, it
reference,
is.
I
That
mean,
is the gold plan
And
right
I
here
like
that
the
you're
gold
looking
plan.
at.
But again, everything is a cost. Now, one thing that's, I think, important to mention, they were talking about the debt, and maybe Mr. Pollack could help clarify this if we can drag you to the podium. Looking at item 9A, 9A-9, which was the combined debt retirement millage of 4.9 mils. I know one of our residents raised the point of debt. So let me start by talking, and you can correct me if I say anything wrong. There was a bond millage approximately 20 years ago to improve infrastructure and roads. And roughly 20, maybe a little longer.
A little less than that, I think, actually.
Okay, and what happened was, there was about 4 miles of road paved between 2008 and 2013. That was good, but that bond still had to be paid off.
Right.
And we are now looking at this graph, it's already dropped off. For example, the 4.9, I believe, used to be 6.0 not too long ago, right?
Yeah, and I believe the high end was 8.6 when we first issued.
Okay.
And that's a combination of bonds. We
Sure.
have sidewalk bonds, we have road and infrastructure bonds, we have park improvement bonds. So we do have quite a few bonds that form that 4.9. They have all been dropping since they were originally issued.
Right.
So, yeah, so there was, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting, it was at 8.3 in the year you had asked me about.
Okay.
And it's dropped to 4.9 now.
Okay, it's just kind of interesting, because people have seen this graph, right? The gray is what we currently owe that's dropping off. So the good news is, we got an old car, and we're just about ready to pay it off. The bad news is, the old car isn't gonna keep going. So we gotta get another car loan, which is what we're talking about now for this bond millage in blue, okay? So I guess what's important, I think, right now is many of our citizens are saying, well, we're the third highest taxed city in Oakland County, which is correct by millage. I think we're floating around 47. Good news is, though, actually, it's already dropped off in the last few years, as you pointed out, Mr. Pollack. So I guess the whole thing is, this chart, it might be helpful if it was put in more context by going back a little farther and showing that we've really been paying off this loan. They're all in the process of getting paid off. We'd love to just leave it alone and give all our citizens a nice big tax break. Unfortunately, we probably won't be able to do that. We're gonna have to get another millage for another bond. The question is, what's the impact gonna be to our citizens' pocketbook? In round numbers, I think you'd mentioned 1 mil will give the city $500,000.
Right,
Okay.
505, I think, was the taxable value
Okay.
on our 4029.
Okay, so $500,000, which is, in round numbers, there's 5,000 residents in the city. So $500,000 divided by 5,000, that would be $100 per year for every additional mill per household. So 1 mil hits a household for $100. But that's actually not entirely true because the citizens are paying about 85% of that and the business are paying 15%. Is that a pretty, I know
Yeah, I
you,
think I looked,
you
it
broke
was
it down a
80
little tighter
It
in
was
your email.
83.17.
Okay. So in other words, if we ask our citizens for an additional mill, we're asking for $83 a year. If we want 2 mills, we're asking for 166. And these, of course, are in addition to a bond that's already dropping off. So I guess I'm taking the long road saying that we're not looking at big tax increases here. We're talking relatively small to make this bond work. It would be good, though, as I'm rattling off what I happen to know, but there's all sorts of things I don't know, which is the history you've got on the now expiring bond millages. If you could give us a little more history going back, because you mentioned at one point it was 8.3 and.
Yeah, I think 8.6 was the highest level
Okay.
that it was at.
If you can kind of give us a picture of the past, because again, the high millages we're paying are in essence a thing of the past. They're rapidly dropping off. If we didn't have an infrastructure problem, we'd be looking forward to tax decreases.
But, you
But
know.
we're not, right?
Yeah, I go back to the point here that, you know, the values of your house slowly increases. So I'm not seeing any reduction even if the millage goes away, because I'm going up because the value of the house increases each year. So,
sure.
and I think the page 12 of the presentation, I think is something that we should focus on, because it talks about each of the proposed millage, assessment increase or assessments and how it impacts someone's house. So, or cost. So, you know, the $100 that you were referencing at the gold plan is only for a house that's valued at $50,000. Now, again, my assessment from my house bought in 1991 is, you know, $62,000. So I'm already beyond the $100 increase. So you couple that with my tax increase, you're talking a $250 increase for me next year. You know, again, I'm not on a fixed income yet, but for someone on a fixed income, a $250 increase is significant. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but we need to have the value and we need to have the story, and we can't, you know, just because 4 years ago, maybe I was paying on, I'm not seeing that dropping off. I'm not seeing more money in my pocket because it dropped off. So we can't diminish the fact that costs are increasing. We're asking them for more money.
Yeah, they're always going to, inflation's going to stab us all. I mean, in the end, everything, the numbers I just gave are always going to be somewhat offset by the increases in our taxes. That's just our valuations of property.
But in real dollars and the ability to afford my medicine and my food and, you know, my wine from Total Wine is going to be impacted on, and if I were on a fixed income, it's going to be significantly impacted on what happens today, not what dropped off a couple years ago, what happens today. So we can't, you know, paint a rosy picture about, you know, 3 years ago it was lower or you were paying less, because that doesn't help me today pay the things I need to pay. So I think we need to paint realistic pictures about what we're asking and couple that with promises of being good fiduciaries of the money, having a communicated plan of what we're going to do and how we're going to use the money. Because the resident who is speaking's point is well taken in that, you know, we have an older community largely here, and a lot of those people are on, you know, they're not bringing in, they haven't won the lottery, they're not bringing a lot of money, so every penny is precious, and so we need to be respectful of that, I think.
Sure.
Sir?
I'm wondering is there anything preventing us from putting all three bond proposals on the ballot with the caveat that only the highest passing one would be enacted, and along with a list of exactly what the residents are going to get as far as which roads and which sewers for each proposal, and then let the residents, the voters, the taxpayers decide what their stomach is.
I can ask our bond attorney if we can have all three on one ballot. I don't know that can happen. As far as a recommendation of information, that should all be informational and not on the ballot language itself. But I agree. I completely agree with you. As many examples as we can give every taxpayer, every voter, I would like to do that. PFM will have a informational spreadsheet available for people to plug in their numbers, which will give them an estimate as to what the additional cost will be. It's a really good tool. They've had this forever. That will be available for individuals, but in the meantime, we can provide, even a little more granular examples of costs for each individual and how this will hit them on each proposal. If they can all be on the ballot, I don't have any objection to that. But absolutely, only one of them could pass. So I don't know if you had two of them that passed, I don't know if you would just go with the higher one. That's an interesting question. I can certainly run that by our bond attorney, but I agree. I want to give as much information to individuals out there as possible. I live here as well. I understand that living here has a cost. It's been that way since I've moved in 2011, and it's been the same way. I can tell you that in 2008, 9, and 10, when we did all this work, in 11 even, we spent about $25 million, and $4 million of that was grant, and we did that much road. And we bonded for $21.75 million. We bonded for sidewalks. I was amazed when I was in the dual role. I was amazed at how much this community supported bonds to get things done. That's consistently what this city does. It's amazing to me. It really is. And I know how impactful it is, especially those on a fixed income. I would like to present every scenario to everyone and let them say, okay, I can afford this or I can't, because that's what it comes down to. You're going to see a ballot initiative and you're going to say, I can't afford this or I can afford it. Or you know what, it'll be tight, but I want to see my roads. And one thing I haven't heard mentioned tonight, which I think we're all in agreement on, sewers is number one. And we don't even know what that cost is going to be yet. So our engineers are estimating 10 million for that. So whatever we agree on, 10 million is probably coming off the top for sewers, because we're going to do sewers. That's priority one. Road and water main is next. I agree with Mayor Pro Tem. Her road is horrible. It's the worst condition road in the city. It's number one on the list. Water main also needs to be done there. So these are all things we want everyone to see that list and look at it. As an individual, you may say, my road's not on here. I'm not voting for this. I can tell you when it was improved back in 2008, it was the east side and nobody else got pretty much any. Mark Avenue was the worst road. It was probably worse than Dreon is now, but it got done because it was the worst road. That's why we use PACER rating. We try not to be arbitrary. East side was horrible. Water main was horrible. All of that gets considered. And then ultimately, as a voter, you're going to decide what I can or cannot afford, and you're going to make that decision. You're going to say yes or no. And I agree. I think as much information as we can give, how much is this going to impact me? That's the question most people have. And I want to provide that information. So they will absolutely get it. And I want to, same as Mr. Minkowski, I want to see the list. I want to know the list. We have formulated the list. We've been working on it for a while. Those costs are going to fluctuate. The other thing here is whatever bond we go with, they're going to be issued in series. So they'll be issued in 3 or 4 separate series. So all the work won't be done, not that it could be, in the first few years. It's going to take about 8 years, I think, to do the bond series, probably 10 years to do the work. But I can tell you this, in 15 years, whoever's here is going to be facing the same question. Do we want to keep this at 6.9 to keep going? Because we know 65 million is not 170. And that's what we estimated it would cost us to do everything. But it's a much bigger dent than 22 or 25 million that we did, 12 years ago, 14 years ago. So yeah, it's absolutely, I want to provide all information. I want people to make an informed decision. As we found here, it's not always about what can you afford, because there's people here that have voted yes on bonds that couldn't afford it, but they did it. They made it work. And it's hard to say. I know for every individual, I feel for everybody on a fixed income, there are going to be people that say, I can't afford it, I have to vote no. And we understand that. But we hope the majority of the people will be comfortable with the information they have and be able to make an informed voting decision, because that's what we want. And we all agree, everyone here agrees, our infrastructure, sewer, road, water main, all needs to be addressed. And this is the best way we can address it, through bonds and borrowing. It would be great to set up something where we had very little interest to pay or no interest, but unfortunately, this is our avenue to get all this done.
Well said.
I'm so glad that you brought up the sewer system and water, right? Because I think that encompasses the entire city. I think there are certain, like you mentioned over on the east side, with their road repairs, that they may not be as inclined as some other sections when it comes to roads. And if we just concentrate on that as the topic on what we need to fix, then certainly all aspects of that is. But if we say that we'll go with bronze, that, as you said, the major thing that we need to address is our water and sewer.
Right.
And what's left over, right? So that outside has to be considered.
The prime example I always go back to, because I was in the dual role at the time, the city passed a sidewalk bond. After assessing residents for years for $25 and doing as much as we could with the $100,000 a year that generated, which was really nothing, we went to the voters and said, what if we put this to a bond and we finished the city? I had people calling me on the east side that already had new sidewalks when the road and the water main was put underneath the sidewalk. They said, I support it, I support Clausen. I want to see everybody's sidewalks get done. That's Clausen. That's my experience here in 20 years. That's Clausen. So.
Anything else on this topic?
Ma'am, just so I'm clear, the consensus then is to remove the parking lots, stick with water, mains, sewers, and roads. All right. I'm good there, ma'am.
Okay. We will move on to public comments. If you're here this evening and would like to speak for something that we didn't already discuss today, you can come to the podium and we'll allow you 3 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Hi, Erin Redmond. I live on Elmwood. I am here in regards to the PUD that I guess is moved from the Planning Commission to an arbitrary hand of Clausen. The city attorney did include in the last packet of, let's see, what date was that? April 29th, Planning Commission packet. He claimed that the PUD was moving from Planning Commission and an agreement was being drafted by the developers. Just wondering why we're not following our ordinance in this procedure. Once again, this has been an ongoing issue with the PUD. Our ordinance does strictly state that it goes from, once the Planning Commission approves it, the next step would be the Planning Commission puts out a, let's see, let me look for the exact words. They put out, sorry. I don't know where it's at. Anyway, the Planning Commission would put out a report about their recommendation, the reason why that recommendation is a recommendation, their findings and such. After that process, it would go to City Council. And then when it's approved at City Council, then an agreement is drafted. So I'm not sure why the developers are drafting an agreement to something you haven't agreed to yet, but that is my concern. And we have lots of developers in Clausen. One who did do a previous PUD, he followed all the steps. He abided by all our feedback. He followed the whole ordinance as we asked. And I just don't think it sends a great message that we're holding a different standard for a different developer. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Michelle, you have a letter, right?
I do. I received a letter by email to be read during the public comments tonight to Clausen City Council from Susan Phillips, resident since 1978, dated May 4th, 2024. The subject is the upcoming council vote for the PUD plan for 150 North Main. Good evening, council members. Thank you for your service to our city. I am urging you to please vote against the PUD at 150 North Main as it stands for the following reasons. The 10-year property tax value freeze will make your job as council members much harder in promoting a ballot proposal to raise millage for road repairs. Residents are already concerned about the recent property tax increase after the school millage. They will not appreciate the developer's tax break while they dig deeper into their pockets. Since the council's goal is to finally improve our roads, and approval of the PUD could make the goal unattainable. They will remember this on Election Day. The current plan shows insufficient parking, adding to the current issue of traffic using Lincoln as a shortcut route between Main Street and Rochester Road. The threat of more on-street parking on Lincoln and Bowers could add to the danger of children and pets crossing between cars on those two residential streets. They will not be seen by drivers until it's too late. This is not the only potential offer to build at 150 North Main. Our city could either renegotiate with the developer or find a better fit for Clausen's goals. Thank you, and you have our prayers for wisdom. Susan Phillips.
Thank you.
Good evening. I would just like to also add my comments again on the topic of the PUD. I'm just grateful for this opportunity when the developer isn't here, because I think there's the issue of the PUD itself with that developer, and then there's the issue of how it's being managed internally to the city. And I saw Ace Hardware, the Roth project, and in principle, I'm not especially for PUDs. I think the original process is fine, but if there's a need for it, so be it. But this particular one was handled such a strange way, and it seems to me that the people who were elected to represent us and their appointments on boards and commissions were marginalized in this discussion. And I have seen the chairman of the Planning Commission chastised for giving context to the overall scheme of the plan. I've seen nasty letters written against planning commissioners who raised concerns about it and who wanted reconsideration of a vote that was rushed. And it frightened me. It really did. And I imagine that all of you who, again, are not paid to sit where you are, who volunteer your time, I very well imagine at the end of it, you hope that Clausen is better for your contribution here, and that in years to come, it's a great place to live, and you played a part in that. And it could be a new building, a new road, a new sewer, a new fire truck. I don't know. But the thing that if we don't even get money for, that will definitely make Clausen a greater place, is if the voice of the people is heard and not marginalized. And I'm sorry to say it, but there has been members of the administration that have really put their thumb on the scale of this project to get what they want, what they have obviously negotiated behind closed doors legally. They don't have to follow the Open Meetings Act. And in their minds, it might be very well for the benefit that they see. But if it was such a good benefit, and if it was so noble, and if it truly was such an unbelievable benefit to the city above and beyond which could be done working the plan through the normal channels of planning, I don't think you would be against it. I think any involvement and transparency you had to that process would only make it better. But I have seen this plan so manipulated, and it even in itself is evolving from the plan that the Planning Commission made the recommendation on. Just a week later, I think it went to DDA, strangely, and the developer started negotiating with DDA that if they wanted balconies on the other side or a different layout somehow, yeah, perfectly fine. That's not what the Planning Commission was voting on. So it's a very fluid process, and there's been a great deal of persuasion by people I don't think were elected or appointed to do that. So thank you very much. I hope when the vote does come to your desk, you have a bigger vision for Clausen, not only for the PUD, but for the transparency and integrity that is involved in executing those types of decisions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, then we'll close public comments and move to our city clerk's report. Michelle?
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and we'll move to our city attorney's report. Mr. Newshy.
No report, Madam Mayor, unless you have any.
We have a theme here. City manager's report? No, don't even try it.
Keep you here a couple more minutes. Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to share that the DPW, in coordination with SACRA, have scheduled their DPW Open House and Recycle event for Saturday, June 8th, 2024, from 9 a.m. till noon. The event will consist of an open house of the DPW facility, displays of equipment, along with opportunities to meet some of our DPW staff. There will be a drive-through recycle event at the same time, which will allow residents paper shredder services, as well as the drop-off of electronics and household hazardous waste. More information will be posted on the DPW Facebook page and also the city website by the end of the week. As I've stated numerous times, this year's budget season was much more inclusive and collaborative than in the previous 2 years that I've been here. Thank you, Mayor Milan, for your leadership through this necessary evolution and how we approach the budget process. Thank you to council for your willing participation and ultimately your support of this budget and our collective approach. Thank you to all department heads and assistant department heads. Your day-to-day vigilance over your duties and this community made it for a very collaborative exchange these past few months. A special thank you to Assistant City Manager Nick Stepnitz and City Clerk Michelle Cuckoo for your constant support of every city department and your continuous genuine concern to work for the mutual benefit of all. Last and certainly not least, a hearty thank you to our Finance Director, Mark Pollock. Mark came back to us last July, inheriting the preparation for the previous year's budget audit, as well as inheriting the current year's budget. Mark has been an enabler for us to get things done. It was his idea to use fund balance to get the sewers cambered. It was he who I looked to figure out a way to staff the DPW's shortfalls, and it is his knowledge and commitment to Clausen that have helped us create this momentum. But overall and in the end, it has been a team effort from the most junior of our employees to the most senior of our returning retirees. I thank them all, and again, I thank the mayor and council for your support.
Thank you. Would you happen to have information you could share regarding Memorial Day?
I got one more meeting before now and then, ma'am.
I mean, but it's happening, right? Just
Yes,
to get on
it's
people's calendars?
It'll be, I believe, the day is still 10 o'clock. The time is 10 o'clock on the 27th of May, which is Monday, the last Monday of May, over at the gazebo. We anticipate that the gazebo will be freshly landscaped. We're going to have some additional pomp and circumstance to this year's Memorial Day event.
Perfect. Just get it on your calendars. This is one of the best days in town, I think. Any other comments or questions for our city manager? No? Okay, let's go to city council comments. Councilmember Binkowski?
No comments.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just a couple, there's a couple nationally recognized weeks and days coming up, and I wanted to, Nurses Week is this week, so I want to thank all the nurses out there who serve in that capacity. It's also Teacher Appreciation Day, I believe, so I want to acknowledge all the teachers out there and all the hard work that they do. And then, of course, Sunday's Mother's Day, so don't forget to shop, and thank your mothers.
Councilmember Anderson?
I have no comments.
And Councilmember Shepherd?
Just to mention that we did hold our first joint city and school district task force yesterday. So good opening discussions, just some of the topics we're having on collaboration opportunities. We kind of touched on the Baker site and where they were regarding what opportunities there were for developer and potential with Hunter. Right now, it looks like they're pretty close to inking the deal for that site. And then we had another opportunity looking at how we can promote both our community and the schools together. So we'll have another meeting coming up first week of June.
Great. I would like to thank Scott, Jenny, Trevor, Ryan, Nick, who you're working, Mark, who's also working, Michelle. We have almost all of your staff here this evening, right? Like all of
Wasn't
the
intentional.
leadership staff. Yeah.
And
So
some
good-
of it was.
Thank you for those of you who sat through all of this. Oh, I'm so sorry. And our fine firefighters sitting in the back. Say hello to the people at home. Come on. Okay. Speaking of fine firefighters, the only thing better than a fine firefighter is a fine firefighter's amazing wife. Brittany Campbell deserves an extreme clap and some yoo-hoos for putting on an exceptional opening day at our park on Sunday. The day started off with a game between city, school, fire, police, people, and coaches. And I don't know if anyone paid attention to who won or not, or I don't know, it probably doesn't even matter, right? But the city, the community won. But the community always wins in Clawson. But Brittany, not to make fun of this, but you did an exceptional job. It was so nice, and it's one of those things that make you go, this is what Clawson is.
Paz was there too again.
And Paz was there, yes. Well, you head up the team, and thank you for what you do. It's really appreciated. And other than that, I'll just say thanks everyone for sitting through our meeting. I was really proud of this meeting. We had a lot of stuff on the agenda. We took care of some really good business. We celebrated some really great people. And now it's just time to go home, right?
So I move we adjourn.
Support.
Thank you. I was waiting for that. All in favor? No, Michelle, roll call, please.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moffett?
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Binkowski?
Yes.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
You weren't wrong.
What's that?
Said you weren't wrong.
Oh, what?
About the competitive bid thing. I mean, you were wrong. You're not wrong. I'm
No, I
saying
know,
you
but
were
I just know that
I know.
we've
I know.
already talked about it
I know.
once, twice, 30 times.
You're right. You're right. I'm just acknowledging that you were right. That's all.
I hope you haven't been